My whole life, I always knew I was special. Even with no remainders, I could always move a decimal. Money on my mind while the girls that made un beso. Hustlers in my blood and it's running through my vessels. Just trying to clear the threshold, just trying to make a way. In my race against time, I could see an early grave. School to prison pipeline, 12 years a slave. Suspension and detention is conditioned for a cage.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros, the comments made by Bob Arum, which shows that he's pretty much interested in the fight between Tyson Fury and Ngannou. So let's take a listen to what Bob Arum had to say, and then we'll talk about it.
So a stadium fight, obviously, that's going to do really well there. Do you foresee any fights? Is there any potential fight that can take place at Allegiant Stadium at any point? Is there any fight that would make sense of that magnitude to be at Allegiant?
Yeah, I think that if Fury wins that fight and gets the fight to either Joshua or Usyk, and unfortunately Usyk, I check every day because he's a friend of mine. He's in danger. He lives very close by Kiev, and he's in the defense force, as is Lomachenko. I think the big fight next year would be Tyson Fury against this guy who's the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, that would be a tremendous fight. Great idea.
All right, so you hear the guy say, "Great idea, Bob," like Bob came up with it. But anyway, so I'm turning over to you, G. What's your reaction to Bob Arum saying he thinks it's a tremendous fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou?
I mean, it's a great payday, but if that fight happens, I'm just gonna keep it 1,000. We eating Cameroonian jollof because Ngannou is food, bro. I'm telling you, bar fighting. Yeah, that's cool in UFC. That doesn't work in the boxing ring. It just doesn't work. And I know Ngannou has a lot of power, but, those wide punches and all that, it's not beneficial, man, in boxing, man. And not to mention, it's not fair. Like, he's a well-rounded fighter for combat sports, but again, this is boxing. It's an art form that utilizes your hands. You can't use your legs. You can't slam. You can't choke, you can't arm lock, you can't do none of that stuff, man. So I think Ngannou's at a major disadvantage. I still would love to see that fight. I'll pay to see the fight. I just know Tyson Fury will be victorious. But at the end of the day, they both will win because that'll be Ngannou's largest payday. Dana White isn't paying these UFC fighters like this. So
Dana White's not to cut you off, but just to add to what you're saying, Dana White's been trying to stop this from happening. He's been vocal about him upset with the fact that even mentioning it or floating the idea around, and he's totally against it.
Yeah, well, he should be because let's just be real. He knows Ngannou's gonna lose, right? And not to mention, this might cause a lot of UFC fighters to demand more pay, right? Like, I want a bigger purse and this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? And so he's probably looking at it from a years down the line type of thing, like.
Domino effect.
Yeah, it's not good for his sport. So he's like, nah, man, let's not even make this happen. But I understand. Ngannou's like, yo, man, I've been doing all of these fights and these boxers, they take one fight and they make what I'm making my entire career. Like, that's not cool, So I understand he wants to get that big payday, but I just know, man, he's food for Tyson Fury.
All right, TBE.
I agree with G. As well-rounded a fighter Ngannou is, he's not a boxer. And unless Tyson Fury agreed to get in the octagon, I see no ways of Ngannou would beating this man. And at the end of the day, the only motive for him would be is getting that payday. And I will watch it because it's entertaining. Two heavyweight fighters going at it. But I see the same thing of what was it Kovalev? What Kovalev did to that UFC fighter is just the same thing. I don't think Ngannou's going to have the punch resistance to withstand the punch, the amount of punches Fury's going to throw at him, and it's going to just end up in the same format. UFC fighter gets knocked out by well-renowned boxer.
Kovalev fought a UFC fighter.
Was it Kovalev? Pull up. No, was it
I
pull
thought
up?
you
Pull up.
said, yo,
Pull up.
when they
Sorry.
fought that tripod,
Yeah, the tribon
or
or whatever
whatever,
it's called.
Yeah.
tripod, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
It probably was called the tripod. Who knows? You know?
The tripod. Yo, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think it's sad at this point in time, because UFC, the way it's structured, the fighters don't make as much money as they should. For the damage they take in their careers aren't very long. You know, they have a small window at the top in UFC. They have a small window at the top of UFC for a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons is there's so many ways you can lose, so many disciplines, right? So many different ways you can lose, but also the wear and tear that they take per fight. So, I mean, hell, so UFC, some of their fighters, their ears will never be the same. You know,
And
just
factor in the volume. They fight a lot in 1 year.
yeah, for less. So, I think the UFC fighters are starting to understand, like, wow, and compare it to boxing. I remember there was a time when the argument was boxing's dying and UFC is going to take over. But now it looks like UFC is the one in danger of dying because their fighters are realizing, like, we're being overworked and underpaid. And they're actually trying to cross over into boxing to get that one payday. So what they're doing in UFC is they're trying to become superstars, build a fan base so they can cross over. But the question I would ask is, how good would Ngannou be if he was a boxer? How good would he be? Would he be a contender? Would he be one of those guys who you throw in so that you can feed him to an upcomer? Right? I don't know how good of a boxer Ngannou is because I've never seen him just straight up box anyone. Right? But you got to look at it as you're going to throw him in there with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's arguably the best heavyweight in the world. I say arguably. You can think it's Joshua. Some people may think it's Usyk. Some people may still think it's Deontay Wilder. The point is, Fury's in the discussion. You understand? So Fury's arguably the best heavyweight boxer in the world, and you're going to take Ngannou, who may be the best heavyweight UFC fighter, but you can only throw hands in a boxing ring. It could be very dangerous at the heavyweight level. We saw it in other weight divisions, but at the heavyweight level, it could be very, very dangerous because Fury's a guy who we just saw knock out Deontay Wilder. And I know there's rumors that Fury has pillow fists. There are also rumors that Floyd Mayweather had pillow fists. I never seen anyone walk through Mayweather, and I never seen anyone walk through Fury. So until I see that happens, they hitting you with something. You know, so until someone walks through them, they hitting you with something. They hitting you with enough to stop you in your tracks. And if it doesn't hurt, you will just walk through it. So until I see that, they're hitting you hard enough with something. It is the heavyweight division, so you can sell it on Ngannou has power. And all he needs to do is land that shot. But there's a reason why Ngannou is a UFC fighter. Because if he had good enough skills to be the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, he would be a boxer. So at the end of the day, if that fight happens, I expect Fury to obliterate him. Unless he lands the punch from the gods. But what are the odds of that happening? What's more realistically going to happen is Fury's going to beat him badly. And I think even Dana White knows that. Ngannou probably knows it. But payday, payday, payday. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.